Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Life Health Show. We got another great guest on here. And last week I did a video about Lyme disease, and we have a guest here today who's been on before many years ago. But this is Suzen. Say hello, Suzen, to the Real Life audience.
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
So everybody, Suzen is somebody who has a lot of experience with helping other people get better from things that a lot of doctors, medical doctors, don't seem to have success with. But Suzen's personal experience comes from her own health challenges that she's overcome. One of them was a major case of Lyme disease. So, Suzen, I want to talk to you about your little background of your situation with Lyme disease. Okay.
Right. Very good.
Okay.
So, okay.
So I'm going to ask you some questions, but how are you doing now? Tell everybody a little about your practice and yourself.
So right now I am fully recovered. I'm back to a beautiful life. I contracted Lyme when I was 51, spent 4 years in bed, and at 55, the doctors determined that I would never recover, and it nearly killed me. And today, at my next birthday, I'll be 68, and I live a very full life. I work out every day, and I work, and I enjoy my grandchildren, and I'm just really happy.
Now, did they confirm that you had Lyme disease, or did they just not know what it was?
No, it was unmistakable for me. I had about 15 years of deep tissue massage therapy under my belt, and I was volunteering at a summer camp for adults in upstate New York. And they knew that they had a very vicious strain of Lyme on their campus and instructed us to come to their medical office if we had a bite of any kind, if we saw anything. And I had never had a tick bite before. I'd never encountered ticks, especially since I grew up camping. Never. So one day I'm massaging my body and I look in the mirror and I thought, on my leg, I saw this mark that was not there the day before. So I thought, okay, maybe Lyme. And I went to the medical office, and the medical attendant didn't even get up off his chair. And he looked across the room and I said, does this look like a bite? And he said, no, it doesn't. And I said, really? Because you're looking sideways and I'm looking down. It looks like it's burrowed in. And he goes, no, ticks don't burrow in. I thought, okay. I didn't think that, but anyway, I was dismissed. And as I went to leave, he said, well, let's see if you get sick. So, it just was a very bad situation from then on. And within a week, I was hit with a meningitis fever that just knocked me off my feet. And I was in my cabin alone for the weekend, completely unconscious. So I woke up 1 or 2 times with extreme severe neck pain and had raging fever. I lost an extreme amount of weight, and I was supposed to be working. So by Sunday evening, they noticed I wasn't around and came looking for me. And that's when they were like, yeah, Lyme. And from there, I went to emergency 1, walk-in clinics, and that doctor very harried himself. And I asked him, I said, do you want to look at the bite? And he goes, no, here, you wrote me a prescription. And he said, just take this, you'll be fine. Okay. So I took that for 2 weeks and I did feel better. And I went back to work, and 1 week off the medication, all the symptoms came back, and it just never left from that point on. And I went to see many, many doctors, and it turned into a court case, as the employer put me on workman's comp without telling me. And I had never had that experience before. So that was a 4-year court battle, and only compounded it. But at the end of that, the doctors and lawyers, everybody told the judge that I would forever, from 55 on. Now that was, my state. I was going to be in bed sick for the rest of my life, however long that lasted. And I had come from, like this vivacious, like everything was great, eating good, like loving life, to just like flat out. And so I signed off with the 4 years of protocols that they had me on. When I was on them, fine, came off, sick again. And I mean, extreme sick, like 4 years in bed, just to get out and go to the bathroom was a huge effort. And so I signed off on that. And I thought to myself, I've been in the holistic field for so long, and I've seen so many amazing things happen. There has to be an answer there. Like I very much believe in God. And I just knew that, this was visited upon me, I thought, as an assignment, for me to go figure out how to cure this through nature. And so I did. So that's what I think.
Okay. So, wow. So when you say you couldn't get out of bed, was it just extreme exhaustion, or was it pain?
No, headaches that were like someone was smashing my head with a sledgehammer. It was so much extreme pain. I would just roll around in bed crying, like digging my head in, trying to get some relief. I've never experienced pain like that.
Okay. Other than the medication, the doctors didn't do anything else for you, correct?
No.
Okay.
And in fact, once they found out that I had a workman's comp situation, nobody wanted to touch me. I was persona non grata. I would beg them, crying. I'd be like, I'll pay you my own money. Like we wouldn't even have to deal with that. They were like, nope. Once we know that, that's the situation, we're not touching you. So it was, the doctor situation was horrific.
So after 4 years of suffering, what was the light bulb that said, I got to do something different now? And what was the first thing you did?
One of the biggest things that I did that I never hear anybody talk about, but through my own research, I had discovered removing the amalgams in your teeth. I had 9 amalgam fillings that never bothered me. And I had a root canal with a gold mixed metal crown. And there was a doctor whose study I came across. He's retired now, but he was out in California, Dr. Landerman, and he had Lyme, and he couldn't figure out why he was not recovering, and yet other people were. And through his research, he understood that when a tooth is drilled, it no longer naturally cleans out the bacteria. So that's where Lyme hides. And also with the root canal, they leave the necrous tissue, the stub in there, and they can take out the main root, but they can't deal with all the little capillaries. And then again, that's where Lyme is. So every time I was biting down, I was just getting bathed in more spirochete. I also came across a woman named Lady Barbara, and I consider it such a gift that this hit me really early on when the internet was still so pure. I came across you at that time too, and people were very, it was, I don't know, very genuine. There was not a lot of noise. And so I came across some very amazing people. She was one of them. She had Lyme. She had been a gardener, and she came across things like teasel root and Japanese knotweed. And the theory behind the teasel root is, Lyme is a corkscrew spirochete. So it'll be in your bloodstream for 8 to 10 days. And that's where the antibiotics will be effective. It can address it right there. Beyond that, it's going to corkscrew into your bone, your cartilage, brain organs, everywhere the medication cannot go. And then it settles in there. From there, it's going to take the heavy metals in our bodies, say from the amalgams, and it's going to build those, like their little empires. And that's the biofilm. So that's where the problem begins. So teasel root is designed in nature. If you see the flower, it has a hook, right? And so what that does is it actually coaxes the spirochete out of their hiding places. Then we have Japanese knotweed, which is an antibiotic, a natural one. And so you take those in tandem, and then, they'll wipe it out. So over a period of time, I had to think like the spirochete, like, okay, they're not here to hurt me. They're just setting up camp. How am I creating an environment that is supporting their lifestyle? I also discovered, I understood this through being a body worker for so long, that we have emotional cysts from emotional trauma, and we have physical trauma, certain areas in our body, and those areas are a bit weaker. They don't have the oxygen in them. And that's where the Lyme spirochete will also settle in. That's why everybody seems to have some different symptoms around that. Depends on where your traumas are. Those are your weak points, and that's where Lyme is going to go in and set up. So those kind of, you know.
Wow. So what's the first step you did in applying? What did you do to yourself first? Did you seek these people on the internet and call them, or did you just decide yourself you were gonna
Well,
take some of this stuff, or what do you do first?
I would have done anything to get better. Like anything. I didn't care. Like whatever anybody told me, I was willing to try. And 10 minutes of research on the internet for me meant 10 days in bed trying to recover, because also the spirochete are going to be stimulated by, you know, the EMFs that come off, you know, the laptop. So it was a very long, slow process. I would attribute the dental work as a primary stepping stone to a full recovery. Then I had had Lady Barbara with the teasel root and the Japanese knotweed. I was already at that time doing green juices and eating very healthy, so that played right into it. I found you with the Ajuva cleanse. I did the Ajuva cleanse. I found that to be really beneficial, and I just kept, you know, like whatever I came across, I would try. So not everything worked, but put together, everything worked. Say it like that, you know. So it's just one thing building on the other.
Have you helped many people over the years with Lyme?
I try. For a long time, I was on Facebook, and I would just go into the groups, and I would just, you know, like give the information away and just, you know, like help people right there. I wrote my book, and The Gift of Lyme Disease and Co-Infections, A Healer's Journey to Healing Lyme.
That's the one behind you, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And this one here.
Okay.
I don't know if yeah. So a lot of people don't like that title. They get very hot, like, what? But my health today is so much better, I believe, than it would have been had I not had to do this extensive research and this deep cleaning. So what I ultimately found out is that, you know, like I settled on the acid alkaline balance as a real cherry on top, you know, to really clean up my whole inner ecosystem, to make sure that nothing can survive in there. And then as I started to do that, it related to all other kind of chronic diseases, because as I studied with Dr. Robert Morse and coached through him, and there, when you study the acid alkaline balance, it's like 7.34. That's it. Too acid, too alkaline. Either way, you're not going to do well. It's hard to be too alkaline, but you can be. But people are more acidic, and you know, addressing the kidneys and making sure that the sewer system is filtrating out of the body. So it's like squeezing a tube of toothpaste. In the beginning, it can be kind of rough, and you know, it's got to come out. It's like, pardon me, but it's like diarrhea, runny nose, vomiting, puking. Just get it out of the body, because the mistake we make in our culture is that, oh, I have a fever, oh, I'm vomiting, oh, I have diarrhea, and we stop it. And then what happens is that we counter the body's attempt to detox us, and we pack it in. That raises the acid level. Then the body becomes very dehydrated. Then we're not absorbing nutrients, and it's this whole cycle. So early on, that was very intense. But today, and I do a cleanse 1 or 2 times a year. Do my program.
Besides the cleansing, do you do fasting?
I naturally do that anyway, like 1 day a week or so, just naturally. I don't like to overeat. I don't like to overdo anything. I'm always doing my herbal teas, and it's a lifestyle, you know, to know that I was so sick, and I thought I was healthy, but I wasn't. You know, I thought it was fit, trim, you know, I thought it was all good, but I really wasn't. And so figuring this all out, it's just a whole lifestyle change for me that I stick with. It was good.
So once you had started to experience feeling better and continuing to do the program, feeling better, Did you decide you were going to seek people who are sick with Lyme, or did you decide you just wanted to write a book to share your story, or did people come to you and ask you? What was the process after that?
It's a combination of that. My mind was so full of all the things to do, all the possible things that one could do, and I realized that I wish that I had someone like me early on like that, and so I just, my mind wouldn't stop. So I just had to write this book, and I wrote it, and I condensed it and refined it and refined it. And it's quite a thin book. It's, people will say like, oh, that's a quick read and everything, but it's written for the person who, like I was. I mean, I was literally homeless because I couldn't work. So I had to rely on family members and the kindness, of like, yeah, you can just hole up in the back room there and we won't bother you. Oh, and then they drop off some, like McDonald's or.
If a person has Lyme, this is a question. If a person has Lyme, are they allowed to get a handicap sticker?
No, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean,
it'd be hard for them to walk, so I would think
right.
so.
Well, this is it. Like I qualified for disability, and I'm sure I could have gotten one. My feeling was that it was better for me to walk, for me to get exercise. It was in the early days. I can't even describe how difficult it was just to walk even to the end of the sidewalk, the end of the walk outside the house, and to come back and then be in bed, for like 2 days, just from that.
Wow.
Horrific.
We certainly take things for granted, and we could. So now
that's it.
This is amazing. Now the big thing is, there's a lot of diseases out there that get misdiagnosed often, but they're actually Lyme. So so we need to really go to people that know what they're doing just for the health in general. But if anyone tells you have something, see if there's a connection between Lyme and that, because I know like
definitely
fatigue, MS, fibromyalgia, all of these are often mistranslated.
ADHD.
Lupus.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So wow. So I'm going to put your contact information below. If people want to get your book, can they go to Amazon, or should they go to the email below?
They can get it on Amazon. It's in Barnes and Noble. What I do is that, if they contact me and they buy my book, then I give them a free consultation. And there's no time limit on that. And, like whatever you need, I give it to you.
Great.
Because, yeah. No, I was so sick, and there were so many people like yourself who just gave from the heart, put that information out there. It was up to me to take it and put it into use. But that's what I do. It's like, I give you the information, and I have exactly all the things that I did in there, and, go for it. And I don't agree that, you need to go to a doctor, because I didn't have money at all. There was a naturopath over here in Connecticut who was big Lyme doctor, and of course, like I described, the insurance situation. And it was, if I went to see him privately, he didn't even take insurance. It was $600 just to walk in the door. And this is like 15 years ago. Then there would be tests, then there would be medications, and then multiple. I did not have any money for that whatsoever. So I had to figure this out all on my own. So I wrote this book for those people who are in that position, and their mind is clouded.
So intrigued by this. It's just a terrible thing that people don't normally catch. You caught it right away, that you knew you had the bite, but a lot of people don't know, and it won't show up until 5-10 years later or something. It's really pretty crazy stuff here.
Right. And I mean, I just saw someone today, and it's an older gentleman, his sister, so she's older, she's had it forever, and she's so sick, and she's all kinds of medications, and she's not going to get better, because the medication is not the answer. The answer is, how are you hosting these spirochetes? What's going on in your world? And, EMFs, there's something, to do for everything.
Now, when you say spirochete, that's what
that's part of the syphilis family. So yes, it can be sexually transmitted, I believe. So when I ever lived with anybody and I had active Lyme, I had everything completely separate. I had my own dishes.
So
Like, it was
you believe, or the research showed, I know back then, and I haven't seen the recent research, but has it come more out that it is transmitted sexually and other ways as well?
they'll never say that. No one talks about that. But in the research that I did, that's my personal belief. And it's a corpus spirochete. It's part of, like the syphilis family. So it just also kind of makes sense. But it's the danger is when it goes into all the places that the medication can't go. So medication is going to definitely help in the very beginning. So if you have the bite and, some people, their doctors put them on a day or two of antibiotics. I don't know if that's going to help or not. A while back, like I'm always ready now for a tick bite. I used to live in the country, and one day I woke up and I'm like, I had a nymph, which is the ones that mainly transmit it, like buried into my temple. I'm like, great. How am I going to dig this out? It's my temple. And I use turpentine, the pine tree resin. So I took a drop and I put it right on the little nymph. And I could feel, because these little nymphs, they put in like tentacles, and I could feel the tentacles that it had already put into my brain dying, everything dying. And I just left it alone. And then the next day I was able to scratch it off and everything was fine. But yeah, the keloid scar that I had on my leg from the initial bite, that took about 15 years before that finally went away. And that's how I knew if a cleanse worked or not, if it, addressed that situation. It's very, very pernicious.
Well, I want to encourage everybody with Lyme to definitely check out Susan's book and her information, because this is important. And it's the thing is that's interesting is a lot of the things you're doing to treat the Lyme can be used in a lot of different diseases to help a person. And so this is just one that's so, I can't even say rare anymore, because it's so common for a lot of people to have this. And it is, I think, medically diagnosed. You can get medically diagnosed with Lyme now. I think when I spoke to you a long time ago, there was a time where that wasn't the case. They always said it was something else or something. So I think there's been progress in with the medical field about Lyme.
Yeah. Well, yes. And many doctors early on lost their licenses because they would treat long-term antibiotics. They're allowed to do that for adult acne, but for some reason with Lyme, they would be challenged, take it to court. There was a Dr. Charles Jones who was just decimated for years and years and years, dragged him through court, and he finally passed on. It's horrific. And
wow. So what's the three things if somebody thinks they got infected by Lyme? Like, what's the first three things you recommend? You recommend them get a test? Do you recommend them fast? What's the first three things you would recommend? Somebody thinks they got bit by Lyme. And I guess, I'm sorry, Susan, for interrupting you. There's two scenarios. The person that thinks they got bit by Lyme like immediately, and then there's the one that has symptoms of Lyme disease that may have been bit 10 years ago. So what in both situations, what do you recommend?
Personally, what I do whenever I get a tick bite or anything, if I think me or family member or dog member, is I always have turpentine on hand, and I use Forest Diamond G, and that's organic. It's sourced from a family farm down in Georgia. And so I work with that. There's two different kinds of turpentine, so don't get them mixed up. But I will take a little bit of that, take a drop or two of that. And there's also—
You would ingest it or put it on the bite?
Both.
Okay.
And I've used it for years. And also oregano oil is extremely good at fighting. I use it not only just for Lyme, but for all kinds of the COVID and all anything. I'll bathe myself in that. And people will be like, "What's that smell? What's that oregano?" It's me. And then the third thing, well, it depends on if you have a doctor. If you're close to your doctor, contact your doctor. I do infrared saunas. I'm just always on my health. So if that's the situation, just
Well,
keep going.
when do you or do you in your practice tell people to get tested for Lyme to see if they have it?
I my best clients are people who have already been through the whole medical system. They don't have any answers. They've already had the test and they know they have it. So I never had a false test. I had 4 positive tests strong every single time. In fact, there was one doctor, in my journey, and I went to him and I had 3 tests already, all positive. And he said, "Well, I don't believe that, I don't believe these tests." He goes, "I want to test from my own lab." Fine. Did his test, came back the next week. "How does it look, doctor?" "Oh, it's positive, but I don't think you have Lyme." I said, "Really?" He goes, "I don't think you ever had Lyme." "Really?" And I said, "Well, what do you think I have?" He goes, "Well, I don't know, but we can start running some tests and find out." I'm like, "Oh, from your own lab that we just did this one?" It's just, you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy making. So when you go to the doctor, when I went to the doctor, I was pretty much treated like a criminal. I have never been treated so poorly as, going in there, and they just don't believe you. I never knew why. I had all the tests, I had the rashes, I had the everything, the
Now,
hallucinations.
what how was your diet before you got bitten and then after? Did your Lyme change the way you eat, or did you always eat somewhat healthy? How'd
I've
that all
always
work out?
Yeah, I've always eaten somewhat healthy. I'm up north here in New York, so I have cooked foods. I was raised in a family, it's like canned food, mashed potatoes, meat every night, that kind of thing. No one in my family understands what I do as a health coach. Pretty much everyone's died of cancer. I've tried to help; they don't listen. But I pursue, and so mostly vegetarian, consuming, the meat. I found once I got Lyme, I was so exhausted and so drained that I sometimes, like, I would wake up in the morning starving and exhausted, and I would literally have to cook a lamb chop for breakfast, lamb chops and broccoli, and just to get some kind of energy. That acid will give you energy and start you up. But as I learned more, and as I did more cleansing, and as I became more educated on the inner terrain in our body, then I refined. And so now today I'm mostly fruit, and I make my own grape juice and watermelon juice, and just, and I do it in a Vitamix. We had that discussion. I don't really put it through a juicer, and I'll do salads. Lots, just had kale salad for lunch today. It's so great. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Well, your story is amazing, and I know your book is filled with knowledge that people should get if they have Lyme. If anyone wants to get in touch with Susan, I'm going to put her email address below so you can email her, schedule an appointment to speak to her. Besides Lyme, she does deal with all sorts of things that people don't like what's going on in their bodies. So
Yeah.
she can definitely give you some good advice and help. And like I said, you're from personal experience. That's why I love what you do, and it's like personal. So
Yeah.
where are you located? You said, I know you said a couple of places. Where are you located?
Right. So recently I moved back to West Hartford, Connecticut. So I'm here, and they can contact me. I have I'll give my telephone is 860-324-8205. Please call or text. I am absolutely here to listen and, give some guidance wherever I can. It's not a problem. And my website, I gave up my website with COVID and everything. Long story. So my personal email is Suzanne, Suzen, Zen. Chan means Zen, so I gave myself a nickname. So Suzen healthcoach@gmail.com. And
Okay, I will post that below. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about this important topic. And everybody, get Suzanne's book on Lyme. You can get it on Amazon, you said, right?
yeah, and Barnes and Noble and that kind
Okay.
of thing.
Show us
But
the name of the
some,
book. Show us the name of the book again. Hold it.
yeah, The Gift of Lyme Disease and Co-Infections: A Healer's Journey to Healing Lyme.
Wow.
So if
Wow.
you buy it through me, it's like if Amazon and Barnes and Noble, they get the benefit of all my work. If you buy it from me, I will, give you a free consultation and just give you what you need.
Yes. Well, it's kind of ironic because isn't Connecticut the #1 state in the country for Lyme?
Oh yeah, hello.
Wow.
Try and find a doctor here is like, it's very tricky. It's very tricky.
Yeah.
But you can do it yourself, it's like, and clean up so many other things in your life.
If you weren't eating mostly fruits, do you think your health would be worse?
Oh, for sure. Oh, definitely. Like I live my lifestyle now. I'm very healthy. I work out every day. I go to work. I have my grandchildren, and I just love. I'm back to living life completely and just love it. And I never get sick. The only time that I am down for the count is when my diet is off, because it's like nobody in my family gets what I do. So if I'm going to hang out with them, I'm 20% of the time I'm with them, and too much, my body will take me down and squeeze that tube of toothpaste, and I'm down for a day or two, and I let my body just detox, and I don't fear at all. I don't try and stop it. I just roll with it, and but I take such good care of my health. I'm always doing Epsom salts baths. I have a very special mixture for that, and just like anything I can think of, I'm always thinking, how is this going to improve my health? It's always gas or brake. Is this going to bring me forward, or is this going to stop me?
There you
It's
go.
always the way.
There you go. That's it. Yeah. All right, everybody, contact Susan. The contact information below. I'll also put a link to the video I did with her about 10 years ago on a similar topic. And definitely a resource you want in your phone book. And you work with people I know one-on-one, but also farther away over the phone. So don't just
all around the world,
anywhere in the world. So you can contact Susan. So Susan, thank you for coming on the show. Everybody have a blessed day and a great raw life.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you for everything that you do as well.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life.